Here we are. We're live. Are we live? We're live. I'm so happy to have Nashotobi, the creator of what I consider one of the top crowdfunded comic books out there, available for everybody at the moment. And we really haven't seen all that much, but what we've seen from the book is so amazing and so intriguing that you have me completely sold already. First of all, your art style is super unique. And second, just the premise of like an occult, it's sort of like a noir detective story with occult trappings. That's unique. I don't think we've seen that since Angel Heart. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
yeah,
it's
definitely
a completely different tone, because it's also got, from what I understand, he's an exorcist. COLTON CRUX is.
So there's actually a lot of occult noir fiction in Lovecraftian genre, but earbuds kind of messing me up. So my unique take on it, it's not actually a noir, occult fiction. It's fantasy that's stylized like noir.
Okay.
So it's
That's
kind
cool.
of so there's
that with Lovecraft, I'm actually just getting into Lovecraft. I mean, I was always a fan of his of the things that he inspired. Like, I don't know if you ever played this game for the GameCube called Eternal Darkness, which
no, I haven't.
it's an amazing. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it was totally inspired by the Lovecraftian mythos and everything. So I was always tangentially aware of Lovecraft, but I've only recently gotten started with actually reading his books. And you're saying that there's a lot of noir elements in a lot of his.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of games inspired by Lovecraft in noir kind of style. It's combining really well with noir, with the classical noir fiction, crime fiction.
Yeah, oh, that's cool.
I struggle to remember specific examples. So definitely really popular two games recently that came out. It's Call of Cthulhu.
You call it Cthulhu, yes?
Yeah, Cthulhu.
That's new. Is that good? Is that good?
It sorry. So it's as a game, just standalone game, it's not that good. But as a Lovecraftian, there's not that many really quality Lovecraftian stuff there, like a really high polish, and it's one of the best. But as a game itself, it's kind of just point and click.
You know what? I remember playing one that was done. I think it was also called Call of Cthulhu, actually. But it's
the old one.
It was done by Bethesda, and I actually really dislike Bethesda. And but that game didn't annoy me that much. I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, it's fine, but it's there's not much gameplay in it. You just basically just clicking and finding stuff. It's like that old style Quest, if you like those games, you know. When you basically pixel hunting, you're just moving your arrow through the screen and finding puzzles to solve. So it's basically like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what this game was that obviously was inspired by Lovecraft as well, where you're like stuck in this mansion and you're trying to discover clues about how you got there.
Was it about paintings? There's a really cool, I don't know if the game itself is cool, but it has a really cool style. And the concept art I saw, it was about painting. I think it was about the artist going insane. No?
I found out what it is. It's called Amnesia. A machine for pigs.
I haven't played it, but yeah, I heard it's really good. And this was another one, really recent game. It has probably one of the coolest and most like Lovecraftian cinematics. Search if you haven't seen it. It's called Sunken City.
Sunken
the,
City. I've not
yeah,
played it. No, I've not played it, but
so
I did read a number of one story in particular that's called I forget what it's called, but it's the one with the submarine.
mm,
Do you remember this one? It's one of my favorites, actually. It's not the Nameless City or the White Ship. It's called The Tomb, I think.
I actually didn't read that much Lovecraft myself. I really just
Listen,
like you, I was.
I'm about 12 stories deep, 12 like short stories deep into Lovecraft, and I don't understand where people get this cosmic horror tagline attached to his stories, because I don't really see it. I just see it as more like stories about insane people, you know?
Well, I guess the idea of the cosmic horror is just something on such a big scale that you just can't comprehend it. So that's the kind of where Lovecraftian horror comes from. You know, there's such a big monsters, they just don't care about you, and they just basically see us as ants. So that's kind of.
Yeah, but I don't really see that much so far, man. To be honest,
Maybe you haven't read those stories. You know, he
I
has a
haven't
lot of
read enough,
stories.
I guess. But you know, there's one where most of them seem to be, first of all, like people seem to be already psychologically fragile. His protagonist, right?
Mm.
And something like as simple and banal as the way that thunder claps, all of a sudden they're like, oh, and my mind almost folded with the sheer lunacy of it all and everything, you know. So you can tell that these are people that are already prone to
Yeah, that's kind of the idea of Lovecraftian horror. That's often is used in Lovecraftian horror, that the mind is kind of a gate, and if your mind is unhinged, then that gate is more easily opened.
that's
So
cool.
that's something I use in my story as well. Like those people who are like close to those ideas, they are more or less uh, don't believe in things like that. They are like
Close.
more protected to it.
More protected. Yeah, because I always got the impression, you know, this might be real, this story that I read, or it could just be the delusion, the lunatic delusion of this poor guy's mind. You know what I mean? But that's an interesting twist. That's an interesting perspective that you just shared, because it puts everything into perspective for me. Which is, yeah, so it's like people that are already disturbed, so they're sort of conduits for these things.
It's just like one of those ideas that commonly used in Lovecraftian fiction. I've more read about Lovecraftian fiction than Lovecraftian fiction. I kind of a bit getting bored with his stories when I read them. They are like cool concept, cool ideas, but I personally don't really like his style. It's
Okay.
kind of a bit hard, you know. I like the plots. I like when there's a clear story, and a lot of his stories is like more like feelings, like some. It's hard to explain. No, I like clear stories.
You
I
like
like
more plot. You like more plot and
plot-driven stories. Yeah.
like flowery descriptions of you know, the mind confronting unimaginable horrors, and yeah. But what are some of within that limitation? Because you're obviously not a massive fan of Lovecraft. You're more a fan of the idea of Lovecraft. What is your favorite story that you have read, that you had the opportunity to read, if any?
Oh no, I definitely like. It's kind of hard to remember English names. So Call of Cthulhu is definitely a cool one.
Yeah.
The whole description of this city of the ancient and sailors discovering it, it's really cool. Have you read it?
No, I have not. That's one of the ones that
So
I
that's one really cool. And the second one, really cool one, is I forgot. The one that's also really popular about the kind of like a race mixing of real people of
Oh,
humans with
Dagon, right?
no, this another one, something about a place, the name. Sorry,
No problem. We're just
having really hard time.
this isn't a quiz, man. Yeah, I really love The Hound. I don't know if you got to read that. The Lurking Fear was actually pretty cool. Beyond the Walls of Sleep, that's one of my favorite ones. And these are all like even the Temple and Beyond the Walls of Sleep. All these, it's just it's like crazy people that are narrating. So let's bring it back to Colton Crux.
You know the one I remember. So The Shadow over Isthmus. Have you read it?
The Shadow?
The Shadow over Innsmouth, something like that.
Mouth. No, I have not. No.
And Dunwich Horror. So those are kind of the three that I really like because there's a really cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
So in one of them is this about like a mixing of these alien creatures and human creatures and people that kind of live in water a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't play it, but I did play this MMO called The Secret World, and the first stage, like sort of like the beginning stage, is clearly it's based on. I know that it's based on that novella, and yeah, but yeah, let's bring it back to Colton Crux because I'm very curious to know more about it and.
So basically, my idea, was like taking all of those concept Lovecraftians and those Lovecraftian style and the Lovecraftian ideas, and mixing it with. I'm okay. I'm sorry. My English is really bad.
No, your English is fantastic, man.
I'm just reading the comment.
Yeah. No, I put it up there because maybe you know this person.
No, I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe I know him. Maybe he uses a different username. But I just have no practice talking English here in Ukraine, so I can write really well, but it's really hard for me to speak.
No, dude. It's perfectly. It's you just have an accent. That's it, and it's not even that strong of a one. Of an accent. And when we communicated on Twitter and everything, you're perfectly verbose, very very eloquent, like an English guy.
Yeah, but I guess speaking out loud is like a different skill, and it's just really hard to.
It's an acquired skill. You have to practice and practice. You have to do this over and over again. These live streams. Not that I'm like the guy to explain to you how to do it. Your campaign.
How is your English so good? When you were living somewhere in Europe, right?
I'm from Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
there was this. I learned it from watching reruns of Bonanza.
Yeah, but your English like perfect. I don't even hear like an accent or something.
That was a joke. I went to an American school, an international one in Portugal for 3 or 4 years.
I actually did learn English from watching Friends all seasons just on English. Yeah, in English.
That's good. And also, I was always prone to learn and immerse myself in the whole English language thing because I was very obsessed with Americana prior to even knowing how to speak English. I was just
yeah, the same. It's kind of that's why my project is occult-noir because I'm really into old American movies, or that whole era, 1940s, 1930s. Those cars, those costumes.
And the way that and all the way that you drew the characters, they're such fantastic. They remind me of those Dick Tracy characters, from do you remember Dick Tracy, like the gangster comic?
Yeah, I haven't read it.
But you see the movie with Al Pacino?
No,
No,
I didn't.
Okay,
there's not a lot. There's no comic book culture here in Ukraine, and all the old movies that we saw, it's like very limited movies that was like translated or on TV.
Yeah, what's it like in are you Bulgarian or Romanian?
No, I'm Ukrainian.
Ukrainian, sorry, none of the above. And so there's not a lot of American shows or any of that going through?
Yeah, right now we basically like a whole American culture. That's all we consume. We have our own like shows, but there's not a lot of financing and there's not a lot of interest. So everything we consume is from America. So that's why we are very like Western culture people.
But you dub it or do you sub it?
No, we dub it.
You dub it, okay. So
yeah, most people here don't know English, so that's why like I have no practice talking. Like in my family, I'm the only one who know English. I'm trying to make my wife learn it too, but she's not really into it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. But Mario De Paulo says that she, or he, probably he, went to the American school as well. That's really interesting. Which one? Maybe you can share with us in the comments.
We have a lot of American friends because a lot of Ukrainians like use that green visa program, you know. So a lot of in 90s, a lot of Ukrainian families, like almost every Ukrainian family has someone who emigrated into America and just then send stuff back, you know, like old T-shirts and stuff.
Oh, yeah? Well, listen, I want to ask you something actually, since you're out there in the Ukraine. I know that you hooked up with a very nice guy named Matt Krotz, who is the creator of a book that I find it was probably the most exciting book prior to yours coming along. It was probably him for me. But I just can't pronounce
Kiri.
it. Kyrie or Kyrie or Kyrie.
I say it Kiri. I don't know how he said it. Yeah, his project is really cool. I really like his.
It's a very cool project. It's got a very unique voice. It's sort of like it's similar to what's the name of that guy that also has a really unique a style. I forget his name, but he did Earthbound.
Narwhal, Plastic Harris. I don't know his real name.
Plaster Harris, yeah. Narwhal also has like a very unique voice, and I feel like this captures the spirit of what indie comic books is all about, you know.
Yeah, those are Narwhal and Matt, and those are definitely one of my favorite indie creators because they have like a really unique style, really unique art. I'm not really a big fan of Big Two, like a classical American comic book style. I'm really into like unique takes, you know.
That's cool. So you didn't grow up reading Marvel or DC, did you?
No, there's no comic book culture in Ukraine.
Wow.
We only recently got the American comics, and they are very expensive. It's not something that children can afford. It's mostly for grown-ups who like got into comic books after watching Marvel movies or DC movies. You know,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
it does seem to like the target audience for comic books these days. It doesn't seem to be children anymore. It's fully grown men. Typically.
Well, I'm trying to get my daughter into comics. I'm buying like all the new releases for kids comics in Ukraine to get her into it, you know. But yeah, there's no like audience here at all, so that's why I'm kind of aiming at a more Western market.
Yeah. But going back to Matt Krotz, I know that it would have been tough for you to print and fulfill out of the Ukraine.
It would be possible to even just crowdfund it because Indiegogo doesn't work with Ukraine. After that whole thing with Russia, after a conflict, America put like sanctions on Russia, but those sanctions, like I don't know how to say it, messed up, you know. So they kind of put sanctions on Ukraine as well.
Wow. So
It's kind of complicated situation. Basically, Russia.
Ukraine just as much as Russia.
Yeah. So we can't use PayPal, we can use Indiegogo. So I kind of had to find someone to represent me, like a manager. So that's why I was looking for like a trusty, like a proven creator, and Matt Crux agreed to work with me. He really liked my project, and I really respect him. I was really happy. Then he.
So and what does it mean for him to be the project manager? So he's going to handle fulfillment and the printing process, or how's that going to work?
So his name is on the project, and he will be controlling all the money until I finish the project and be able to fulfill it. And also, just to mitigate the risk, sorry. Well, he will have all control of the money, just so he felt secure and safe that nothing will happen. And if I didn't fulfill, he can just refund it back to the people, And also, he has a track record. He has experience of fulfilling and printing comics, so that's why he will be handling it from US. Because it would be impossible to do it from Ukraine. It would be too costly, and our postal service is not that good.
I have to look into doing something like that for my next book, for part 2, Tales from the Classroom, because it's very costly the way that I did it, and what you're describing. Obviously, Crotz isn't doing this purely out of the kindness of his heart. I'm sure
he has
he's taking a cut of the the revenue.
We agreed on a fee, and I added something more on top. So
okay, nice.
He will be really happy if everything works out, I think.
Yeah, and your book, the success of the campaign seems to be almost assured. You're at 70%, I think. Correct?
Yeah, something like that, something 71 or something, and we still have like one more month we can stand to.
And it's onwards and upwards from here. But I'll tell you something. Let me put. Let me. Can I share your campaign so people can take a look in case they're not familiar with it? But first, I want to actually engage with Marigo de Paulo, who's our #1 fan today. She asks you, do you guys also read French comics in the Ukraine? No comics.
We don't read any comics here. There's no comics in Ukraine. It's too costly. People in Ukraine don't spend a lot of money on entertainment. It's very piracy.
But how do you have such a comic booky style? Because it's
I developed it, so I wanted to write my own story from a young age, but it wasn't like something I believed I can do, because I grew up in a small city in a really poverty, and it's very blue collar, and so that's I thought that I'm gonna do in my life, just work construction site, but I understand that I really already understood that it's not for me. It's too hard, and I'm kind of more into drawing and writing. So I started to write, and I was too much into American culture at that point, in American language, and I wasn't able to write in Ukrainian anymore because, I'm writing in English too much,
Yeah.
And I wasn't good enough to write in English language either. So I always draw, and I then discovered diversity in comics. I kind of learned about the state of the comics industry. I got into comics, and I started to research. I started to read the best of the comics, really study them, read books about how visual storytelling, and I kind of developed my style by just
that's
researching and drawing.
That's one of the most impressive things I've heard recently, that you managed to develop such an amazing, unique style in so short amount of time.
I actually had this really idealistic idea of comics. I thought that they were all like Watchmen. just these perfect books with every panel that matters and every panel that means something, just essential stuff, you know. And then I discovered diversity in comics, and he started to talking about the state of the comics right now and how those comics are not that good, the stories are weak, and I understand that I can actually do it, you know. Is like take away that fear from me. That comics should be like perfect stuff, and I still have like that fear. I really focusing on making my comic just like really quality and only essential stuff, you know.
You can tell that every single page that you've worked on, that you've shared with us, that there's been a tremendous amount of care and love put into it. You know,
Thank you.
into the work. So that's really cool. Let's get onto brass tacks. Let me share. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. No. Oh, okay.
So this is the campaign. You're already at 7+K US.
Oh, I just got new backer.
You just got a new backer. You see, man.
Yeah.
This stream is so popular you can't imagine. And we're taking a look. You know, it's just a shame that the resolution in Indiegogo really doesn't really does a disservice to how good your artwork looks.
Yeah, and something, it's, I guess the problem in my style as well, because I saw other people art and it wasn't that blurry, but mine for some reason is really blurry. Maybe because I'm not doing like a line art, you know. I'm like more like painting in ink, you know. I'm using like white and black, and I'm painting more, and it's getting really blurry. So that's why I added like a link in my campaign for people who want to see in a better resolution somewhere there.
This is so cool. I love this page and the previous one as well. This in high resolution is just jaw dropping. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm very curious to see the color version, but I don't need a color version. I'm happy with the black and white. But if you give us both, even better, because I know that you have a little tier over here.
Mm-hmm.
That includes both versions, right?
So my my original idea, I would like it to be black and white, but I know that a color version is just more popular and it would be more easy to sell. So I will be doing a color version as well. There's an example of one page, but I recently ordered a test page from this artist that I really like. Whose colors just would fit perfectly in my book. So if that work out, it would be like a faraway goal. You know, I can't afford it right now at this like my goal.
Okay.
But there would be a faraway goal, like a really cool color artist, and I really hope that I can reach it when I have like a later in campaign.
I love this, dude. I love this thing. Is this quite true, like what we're reading here? So you read this, and then it goes on to this page. That's how it's really going to be. So yeah, and then this as well.
This is no, that's not a first page. It's somewhere more like in the middle of the book.
Okay,
just a really good page. So I decided to.
Yeah, for sure. That's an amazing page. Wow, man.
Thank you.
But we were looking at some of the characters that you've developed. This guy, this face over here that you're seeing, that's so emblematic of that time period of the 40s and earlier.
Yeah, it's like Steve Buscemi mixed with
like a very you know, like with like that.
Yeah, I needed like a little fat nervous guy who kind of like always gets into troubles.
That's good. And then you have all these other people that are, I guess these are like part of an occult society, no? An occultic.
So my character, he's like a supernatural investigator, and he also an exorcist and a mage. It's and he has like a circle of people who have like other specialities, and they benefit each other. You know, it's like his inner circle. So those are those characters.
Is it just me, or did I dream this up where this book was somehow at some stage associated with a publisher that was also supposed to publish Long Harbor? No?
So basically, when I started to work on this book, it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I decided to find like other creators who create similar books,
Yes.
similar occult fiction books.
Yes.
And I found Alejandro. He was working on Harbor, and I
Who's
found
another amazing creator. That's another book that I'm desperate to get my hands on.
and
I've actually
found
collaborated with him. I've actually collaborated with him on a short story that's included in for What Are the Tears for my book, and yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great.
And I also found another creator. He was working on Karnaki. If you know Karnaki, it's like a classic occult detective.
No.
No. He was really popular right after like Sherlock Holmes was popular. There were a lot of occult detectives like Sherlock Holmes, but plus ghosts and supernatural creatures. And Karnaki was one of those like most popular of those characters. And he kind of like he's a big fan of that character, and it's a public domain at this point, and he resurrecting it.
That's cool. But what's his name? The creator?
Corey. He Mike Corley, something like that. You probably don't know him. He's not a comic book creator. He is working more. He's a professional book cover artist, and he does it in his free time. I'll later send you the page. It's really impressive. His comics look really good, but he is unable to focus on it full time, and he's just doing it on his free time. He's about the.
Is the crowdfunding page launched?
No, he's not doing crowdfunding. He has an income. He's working on his like job and do it in his free time, and he's planning to release it when he's done with it.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my idea was to like bring all these creators together and just promote it together, because we're going for the same audience. It makes sense, and also Alejandro hired me to write the script for Long Harbor, so I wrote the script for his comics. Yeah, but we are like, huh?
I didn't know that. That's really
funny. Yeah, I was the script writer. I don't know how much of my script he will use, but yeah, I wrote the script for Long Harbor.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, I was paid. But we kind of later drifted apart, he's doing his stuff on his own, and we just like, I'm doing my book, Corey doing his book. It's not like a company. It's just like a group that help each other promote.
I see. That's cool. His book did fantastic. It's really funny because he used to live in Portugal, of all places.
What?
He used to live in Portugal. Well, when I paid him for the collaboration that we did, he said, "Oh, I noticed you're from Portugal. I used to live in this place close to where I am." And it was like the most random thing of all time because I guess he's Cuban.
Yeah, he's a very travel man because he had a marine career. He was a diver archaeologist, something like that. I don't know how to properly name it. So he traveled the world because his archaeological company was in different places, just working on different digs, like sea digs,
Oh, that's amazing! But he was a marine, like fighting marine, or
no. I mean, marine, like a sea. He was a diver archaeologist. He was just diving.
Yeah, that's why he's the squid master. Anytime you want to get a squid done, he's your guy.
Yeah, he was working like on shipwrecks.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and Portugal's all about shipwrecks, I guess. But what else can we talk about? Do you want to go over the tiers of the book?
Well, tiers in my campaign are pretty simple. I'm just offering a book, a colored book version, and a black and white version. With black and white version, we'll also have added like extras, concept art, and world building bits. No, will be more world building writing because this world is really like complex. This is not like a typical occult-noir fiction. It's more like a fantasy with complex world building and a complex magic system, and it's mostly just stylized like noir. So all these characters, they are more like magicians than your typical characters in near fiction. So Colton, he has some abilities, and everyone has some abilities. There's a lot of creatures, a lot of different ways of use magic.
That's cool. So you did a lot of world building for this book, and it's something that's obviously going to live outside. It's a universe that's going to live outside of just this one book. It's something that if you want, which I'm assuming that you will, you'll want to flesh out more and more in future installments.
So my stretch goals, I would like, if I reach stretch goals, like higher sums, I would like to spend all of those money to hire other creators, other artists to draw additional stories set in the same world, just exploring it like lore and history, because I came up with a lot of it's like a totally different world than ours. It has a different history. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of like magic cults and secret societies and events that happen totally different.
Sounds like a video game in the making, man, or something. So hopefully. How far would you say that you're into the book at the moment in terms of the?
All these years I was mostly working on world building, and I only recently started to work on a book. So I have just a couple of pages, and I'm planning to work on it this year. Because I didn't have the time to work on it. I need So my plan is I created a couple of pages. I have the script, and I wanted to see if I can, not finance it, because I won't be using those money. I'm not going to hold on to those money, but I will be at least know that I'm going to be compensated. Like me and my wife, we have a plan, that we are going to just live on her income, and I'm going to work on this book as fast as I can, and then if I see that I will be able to compensate myself. Because if I can fund this sum, the sum 10,000 would mostly go to printing and fulfilling. It's really expensive to print and fulfill and deliver worldwide. But if I fund it and I keep working on this book and post more stuff, then more people will come throughout the year, and I'm hoping that it will compensate. That I will be able. Yeah.
For sure. Tell me about the name Colton Crux. I love that name. How did you come up with it?
I don't know, just guess randomly. I was searching for cool names, and I was reading all those lists, 100 boys' names, just searching for an interesting name. And then I just found that name Colton. I started reading what it means, and it was something like, I think it's Irish or Scottish, and it means someone from a dark city. And and I recently learned that it's more about dark city. It meant more like a coal city, a city that's a coal miners live there,
Oh, okay.
So I kind of
so
I didn't understood it.
Dark City. Wow, that's really interesting. Dark and then it's a coal mining city.
Yeah. So, but I'm in love with that name, so I'm not gonna change it. I really like how it sounds.
Absolutely not. It's
and Crux, it just sounds cool, and
the Crux part just ties everything together.
It just sounds cool, and it's something important, and it has that religion sound to it too, like cross, crux. It just works for me.
Yeah, I love it. There's a great ring to it.
All the classic occult detectives have a cool name, like Sherlock Holmes, Karnaki, like a recognizable name, and I wanted my characters to have it too. And originally my project had a different name. It was called Nodus, but it was I felt like it was too pretentious, and it's just it was called Nodus.
Okay.
It's a Latin word, something about. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted I think it's just a better idea to call your stories or your like books by the name of your character, because you're like creating you make people remember your character, you know, like creating like a IP. It's better create IP than some like a strange name.
Yes, I agree with you, and
it creates like recognition.
And it's also, it seems to be a character-driven story, very very about him. You know, it's like everything's seen through his perspective, so it makes sense. You know, that you would choose to do that. How long would you say that it takes for you to churn out a page?
Well, a couple of days definitely, because I use a lot of like designs. You know, I spend a lot of time thinking about how to. So my approach to drawing pages is more like. Well, I think about a lot about layouts and about putting all like into one just page. You know, sorry, I'm having a hard time explaining it.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, so
I don't like when in the comics, you know, the conversation.
I feel like your page layouts are very cinematic and very almost well, they're very cinematic. Like you can, it's like a movie that you're seeing, you know. And one thing I noticed that that I thought was unique and really cool was how the lettering. There's parts of it where there's no word balloon. There's no, you know, the balloon doesn't exist. It's just straight lettering on the page. And
so those parts is more like his thoughts, you know.
His thoughts, yeah. But I thought that was a unique. Usually, it would have been the bubbles, you know. But it makes much more.
Well, I guess it's come from that I don't really have like an experience with comics, so I'm doing a lot of things my way, and I'm making a lot of mistakes too. Someone pointed out that you don't use like I with the handlebars, you know, I with handlebars.
You're doing the lettering as well.
Yeah, I'm lettering it as well. I'm drawing it, lettering it, and I'm probably gonna color it if I can't fund funds for that colorist. I would like to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really cool.
I'm doing everything myself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the lettering's great. It's very well done. I'm perusing it now. It looks professional. So.
Thank you. Well, I'm studying a lot of like a really pro-European comics. You know, I'm looking what are they doing.
Our favorite gal, Marigo de Palma.
I haven't done any comics yet. This is my first story. This is my first Lone Harbor was my first finished story written. So that script is available for anyone to read, anyone who wanted. And this will be my second script and my first comics.
Yeah, shoot me your script. I'm very. Where can I find it? Actually, don't.
I'm going to send you.
I'm very curious to read it.
Anyone who wants to read it can just ask me in DMs or on Twitter, and I'll send you the link. Because people don't really like reading scripts. You know, everyone wants the comics, so we script writers. No one is interested that much in what we do, so I'm happy to share my script.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
anyway.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you got into the writing. I'm not so much surprised by the artist element of your work, but the writing element of your work, because you know, you did English wasn't your first language. You sort of like winged it, and you seem to have a knack for. From what I've seen a little of it, but you can tell that it's better than most of the stuff out there, even though I've seen only.
Well, actually, I would say first I'm the writer and artist is the second, because I don't have funds to hire anyone else, so I decided to draw it myself, and I posted somewhere just comparison to early concept art from COLTON CRUX like 3 years ago. And right now, in those 3 years, like my style evolved a lot. Mm-hmm. Like if I did my story 3 years ago, it just wasn't be that good.
So would you say you enjoyed the writing process more than the than the drawing and the
Writing, like coming up with stuff, like building the story and the story structure, not the writing itself. The writing itself is just as grueling as drawing it.
I agree that it's not a pleasant thing.
Well, it's all just like it's hard stuff. It's hard to draw pages. It's hard to write dialogues and make it really consistent. And so yeah, I like most writers and creators. I more enjoy the result than the process.
Exactly.
And do you enjoy more like a process or the result?
Like writing, it's people say, "Oh, I love writing so much," and for me, because I'm a little bit maniacal with getting things right, and it's not a pleasant process. It's like I overthink things too much.
Yeah, the same.
I wish that I would find more fluidity in the stuff that I do.
Yeah, I read the pages of your comics that was available, and yeah, it's like what I like. It's very consistent. It's very like just the bits, because a lot of writers these days in comics write them like they are TV shows, like dialogue just go on for pages, and the artist don't know what to do, so he just puts headshots. It's like 4 pages of headshots. And yours writing is also like really consistent, and that's way it's just like writer can do more interesting visuals if he doesn't have to show the same characters all the time.
Yeah, my concern with Tales from the Classroom specifically is how verbose I want to make it, because I know that it's for kids and I don't want it to be too literary. But I'm afraid that maybe I dumbed it down too much. You know what I mean?
No, I would say it's really fun. The pages that I saw were really fun. I wasn't able to back it because I'm a poor Ukrainian. I don't have finances, to spend like everyone else.
No issue, man. Maybe when you do amazingly in this book, which you will, then bring back the second one.
Definitely.
But listen,
I think my daughter would really like your comic because there's like a lot of monsters, but they are cute and like friendly. And my daughter really into mummies. She's a 4-year-old, but we had this really cool children book called Pierre and the Secret of Labyrinth. I don't know if you heard about it.
No.
It's by a Japanese author, and it's like I don't know. Do you know this word Wellme book?
Pardon?
This German word called Wellme book, something like that. It's basically the books, like big books with giant illustrations with a lot of details. No words, just details.
Wow.
So yeah, so there's like this book, and there's like a lot of adventures happening on the page, and she likes to like look through it. And there's one in a haunted house, and there's a lot of mummies, and she's really into mummies.
Oh, I have a character named Cleobitus the Mummy, who's a school bus driver, and yeah, he's a mummy, and she'll dig him. And it's funny because he's a disastrous driver because the ligaments keep getting in his. He drives like a maniac, and it's always the life. The kids are always risking their lives every time they go to school, basically.
Yeah, your book looks like a lot of fun. It looks very like those 90s cartoons, It looks perfect.
It looks a little. The artwork may seem a little dated because it's like 10 years old. I was first developing the book 10 years ago. And it was supposed to launch through a publisher named Viper Comics, but then they went kaput, and the project sort of died. And then years and years later, I decided to take it up again, and the artwork was already there, so I wasn't gonna, start it up again from the beginning, So I used what was there, and hopefully this first book will whet people's appetite, and they'll enjoy it enough that they support the second campaign. And Actually, I want to share something with people, but I want to make sure I'm not doxing myself or anything. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, never mind. I just wanted to share the fulfillment house, right? That I hired to do the shipping and handling of everything.
Are you fulfilling from your country?
No, they just sent me pictures of like of the books and boxes and everything, and they're being sent out finally.
Yeah. What I'm asking, are you fulfilling from your country or are you fulfilling from US?
No, but from where I printed, you know,
And where you printed?
with Mixum International, which is UK based. And they have a fulfillment company that they just this fulfillment service that they just started recently, and it's good that they started it because I was like, where am I going to find a good fulfillment house? And then all of a sudden, I receive an email from Mixum saying, "Oh, we just started this service," and I'm like, "Oh, perfect! I can do everything, a turnkey operation sort of deal, you know." And
well, initially I was planning to go through Print Ninja and use they have like an affiliate shipping company, fulfillment company.
oh, they do, yeah. Chinese people.
No, they have a like American fulfillment affiliate.
But they do the printing in China, no?
Yeah, they print in China, but then they get the books back to America and they have like a really like a mom and pop affiliate, really like a not that big a company that fulfill for them, and it's really like a good company, good customer service. I was in talks with them, and they offer really good rates, but I was hoping that I can do it like through my Indiegogo account, and I will have all control over finances. And then I discovered that I can't use it because I'm Ukrainian. So, and Matt offered to fulfill it himself. He has like a experience, and I'm just gonna go with him.
Yeah, that's smart. It's smart, and he's a good guy, and seems very reliable. So I think you're in the right hands. Yeah, the mom and pop operation that you mentioned, I like that idea where it's like people are very hands on and they actually take care of the product and everything. For me, the primary thing is to get people the books in pristine condition. You know, because you know these people, the comic book audience, they're very particular.
And there's something with American Postal Service. They really mess up a lot of books. I'm seeing it online. They're really just throwing them on the ground.
That's
It's
crazy.
really.
It's crazy. It's like they see a thing. Oh, this looks like it needs to be handled carefully, so I'll just smash it against the wall.
Yeah, even in Ukraine, no one is doing that. Like I either get package directly into my hands, or I have to go to the postal service to take it. No one is leaving the packages just on the ground, so it's really strange.
Yeah, it is strange. Well, hopefully everybody's going to get my books in their hands in tip-top condition, and we'll see. It was quite expensive to do it through Mixum, so maybe I'll look into that company that you mentioned next time around.
Yeah, I send you the link if you want.
Or not, or if they do an amazing job, I'll keep them. Let's see. I'm more interested in quality than like trying to shave off as much, you know, than the.
Can you share how much you pay per book for fulfilling and shipping?
Per book?
Yeah.
It differs because look, there's these different perk packages that I have, and it's weight based how much they charge you, right? And you know, for example, I have this perk package called the Triple Threat, which is it's pretty heavy because it's this book. First of all, the printing. This is one of the variant covers, and then you have another one, which is this one, and then you have another one on top, and then you still have art prints that that I'm going to send to people on top of that. So that. Let me see if I can if I know exactly how much it was. Well, I'll share it with you. This isn't exactly compelling material for any viewer.
Are you planning to do more books in the same like a universe, or like a book 2?
It's part of a multi branch story. This is it's going to be several chapters, and so I'm going to do the first campaign was not, as you know, it didn't do fantastically, but also I wasn't doing any promotion. I did a lot of mistakes the first time around that hopefully I'll
probably didn't put actual shipping rates, right? That's the kind of number one mistake that a lot of people make.
Well, no, the shipping rates, I got that down well, but
because our shipping rates, we put like the actual USPS shipping rates for worldwide, and that's probably a big detergent for a lot of people, because like to ship to Britain is like $25, to ship to Australia it's $35, and it's actually $36 to ship to Australia from US. It's crazy. It's
crazy, and it feels like it's more expensive than it's ever been. When it should be less expensive because there's more international shipping going on, more so than ever.
I'm actually surprised that the prices aren't going up during this pandemic and after everything that's happening right now. It's actually staying the same so far. But if it's going to go up, that's really mess up our.
It's going to mess up completely the crowdfunding system. Yeah, for sure, the crowdfunding space. Because it's already thin margins to begin with. When people see that, for example, Cyberfrog is doing $1 million per book, I promise you that's nowhere near as much as as Ethan is getting. It's still doing very well, but with tax and everything.
Yeah, tax, returns, commissions, shipping.
All of that, it's like. I think
just a couple of international returns can really mess up like a small campaign, because the shipping itself, just like I said, $36 to Australia. If the books gets there like damaged and I have to send another books, that's another like.
Listen, there are books that Ethan was sending out where he's losing money by sending them out. So there's cases of that as well. So it's there needs to be more turnkey operations set up so that the costs go down for people. You know what I mean? Something where you can just relegate everything: the printing, the fulfillment.
Where's most of your like backers coming from US?
US, yeah, US.
Yeah, so you definitely have to come up with something from US so you can just fulfill from US. It's going to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Sure.
That's why I kind of really work out with Matt, because the shipment would be crazy if I did it, because 75% of my backers are from US, and it wouldn't be that high if I fulfill it from Ukraine, because the shipping would be 2 or 3 times higher. No.
Right. Do you get people from Ukraine or no?
No. I get like offers to print it when it's done, but I'm not gonna do even that, because there's really no market here. It's very, very niche.
Offers to print it from publishers?
Yeah, from Ukrainian publishers. Like a couple already reached out to me. They saw like the comic, and then it's from Ukraine, and they offering to print it, but there's not a lot of audience, and I have to really lower my prices, like even lower than the standard like book price for a comic, and just not.
Prices are already so jacked up, because here's one of the number one mistakes that I made was how low my prices were.
You definitely put so, because you have a lot of backers, so I was kind of surprised why you only.
Yeah, because it's so low. That's why.
Well, you probably wanted to make like a more market value price.
Well, it was my campaign, and I figured, people are going to go insane for the for how cheap this is, basically, and just
I found that people don't really care about cheap books that much, about books being cheap that much. They just it's more like crowdfunding is very niche,
it's an
and the people. What?
I find like it's an emotional investment that people make. You know, they latch on to your project and they connect to your project, and that's what makes
And
them.
it's not for everyone. It's like crowdfunding is a niche thing for people who like this like special books that aren't like uh, printed in large quantities. Like they're getting in something indie, something special. It's like that. Well, you know, like indie music, indie films, like and indie comics. It's for to feel like
It's like the vinyl. It's the vinyl. It's the vinyl of what vinyl is to music is what
Mhm.
crowdfunding books are to comics. You know, I feel. But I'm all about it now that I've become a creator and crowdfunded my book. I've also become a big consumer. You know, I'm also a big supporter of books, especially books that look great like yours. You know,
yeah, there's something really special that you like supporting the creators who only starting and they have something really like original, you know. So like Narwhal, I would like to support these creators like Narwhal or the Irish guy who does Deathworm. Uh,
Death.
sorry.
Yeah, Kylo wrote.
Yeah, Kylo Rowe, his stuff really good. Like I would like to all support them all because it's like really original voices.
Cardamel, or you know, there's or even well, actually, Monster MD is one of the most impressive books out there. Uh,
Mm.
for me, are you aware of that or no?
I'm not only aware of it, I actually helped him raise quite a bit of money
Oh, really?
by posting it on Imgur, and it went viral 2 times on Imgur.
What is
And
it?
that project has a really good like mass appeal. You know, it's like a really simple, cool tagline, the doctor that heals monsters, and it has really mass appeal. So it went viral 2 times, and it collected quite a bit of money. Uh,
What's Singur?
Imgur is like this platform that people post like pictures and memes and stuff, and you can post like galleries. And I found that I can post like galleries of my art, and if people like it, it goes viral, and like up to 500,000 people can see it. You know?
Oh, that's cool. Huh?
Yeah. So his project went viral 2 times, and conversion isn't that great because like probably 500,000 people saw his project, but only uh, finances, the money he got from that post were like less than 1,000, but still that's like still a lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's great.
And so far my project I posted and it went viral, and I just got like 4 backers. 200,000 people saw it, and I just got 4 backers, but still there's like a 4 backers more than I
For Rutgers, that's
would
great.
have.
Great. But yeah, with Monster MD, it's a very high concept sort of pitch, very well put together. The he was
And the art looks really fun, and colors are great, so and
the
designs are cool.
colors were fantastic. I mean, Marco McCagney is an amazing artist, but the
Mm.
colors by Tanya Wicker are just something else. So, like, you know, it's Monster MD, it's your book, it's Long Harbor. Uh, that, you know, it's those books that I'm the most excited for. They all happen to have like sort of monster themes to them, but that's just coincidental.
Yeah, horror is just a popular genre. It's like a really good niche to aim your project on. You know, it's easy to promote.
For sure. Well, listen, man, it's we're just over an hour. I know that you got a backer, so yay for that. People don't really join live streams at this hour, but hopefully later on something more is gonna. I'm gonna help contribute with a few additional backers, and I'm gonna, since my campaign is done, now I'm more interested in sharing um, and promoting other people's projects actually on Twitter and everything as best as I can. So I'll be sure to be doing that for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And sorry, it's really hard for me to talk.
No, it's you're fantastic. But
okay.
But it was great to speak to you. Congratulations on your project. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And nothing. We'll speak. We'll continue speaking. Okay. And to you guys, hit like and subscribe. This is your favorite theme about comic books in the universe. So that's the least you can do. All right. Bye-bye.